Hey everyone, I'm Mark,
And I'm Alex.
and this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks. Welcome everyone to episode 41. We're so excited you're here, but if you are joining us for the first time, if you're a new listener, we're glad you found the podcast, but we are actually finishing off Final Fantasy IX today. So if you want to kind of start off at the very beginning of that, episode 6 is where you're wanting to go. As for everyone else, if you've been listening this whole entire time, well, as I just said, we are finishing it. So we do have one more episode after this where we'll kind of analyze and we'll kind of give our scores of the game. We decided we'll kind of just do that for each of the Final Fantasies. So we do have one more episode and then we'll be on to 10. So if you've been really highly anticipating that, well, we're almost there. Just be patient a little longer. And so, for this episode, we left off last episode making our way through Memoria, right? Where we're continuing on, we're going through, I think we left off fighting the Lich, we killed it. Also kind of talked about where, we're basically where you get Excalibur 2 if you're a boss and you just finish the game that quickly. We're going to pause right there because we've had all the kind of the last little side things to do, the bosses, the last kind of little island we haven't talked about yet to handle. We're going to go ahead and attend Shop Man and we're just going to blast through this stuff.
Yep.
Behemoth, man, Monster House, we've talked about it. We have talked about Behemoth, and if you literally did just listen to our last episode, we talked about it, but Monster House specifically, main difference is obviously you can only choose one character.
Exactly. I mean, it's pretty much the same as the version in Memoria. Got your standard fare behemoth attacks here with strike, heave, counter, and of course he can, I believe, he has a final attack of meteor.
Yes.
Or he can just use meteor, one of the two. You can silence him to stop that from happening. Another really cool thing with this is that if you happen to be able to beat him with dagger, then you get the Dragon Lady achievement, which is pretty cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting thing. You'd certainly probably want her to be pretty high leveled for that, just for health wise, I mean, and so it shouldn't really be that difficult. None of these were really hard. The funniest thing is probably the first one was the hardest one, just kind of, talking about where you were with characters wise. If you did manage to beat it, you're going to get a fantastic reward. No, you're not. You're going to get a circlet, which, it's a great item. It is, but it's like, come on, at this point, it's like, woohoo.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get something, especially for like doing all of them too. It would have been nice to get something really good for that. Before we get to some of the other final bosses, we have one. We have one in Memoria still. We've got the Synthesis Shop. So there's a final battle there with Hades. So basically, this is kind of where we're going through that part, and you're in the underwater section. You take that little right into the Nook.
Yep.
You can speak to an invisible exclamation mark back there or whatever.
Yep.
And then you can initiate, if you accept the challenge, you can initiate a boss fight with Hades, which, have you done that yet in your game?
I did not do it this game, but I did do it my last one, and that was the first time I even, challenged him. And that's why I didn't do it with this game. I'll be honest, guys, I got burnt out. I did not do a lot of this endgame stuff. I know about it. Most of it I have done at some point, but Hades, I don't know. I don't think he's particularly that challenging, right? I mean,
no,
it's kind of,
I wouldn't say so.
He's in line with the other bosses that you've encountered. Here's the other thing too. We already know that, levels are like king right now in this end game. If you are a low level, you haven't done a whole lot of stuff, well, no matter what, it's going to be challenging. I mean, it should be.
That's for sure.
If you're kind of at level par with the bosses around like, let's say mid-50s, mid-60s, it probably won't be so challenging, especially if you've had a lot of these treasures that we've gone over. Mainly just the things. He does use Judgment Sword. It drops party members down to 1 HP, kind of one of those attacks. Right. That's kind of like just one to watch for. And then really just kind of watch it. He uses freeze, so you want to obviously protect against that. Mustard bomb, same thing. So kind of right. At these point, as we've talked about, and we're kind of just beating the dead horse here, these are kind of ones you should just always have on anyways at this point. It's kind of like you just want to protect against those because it seems like most enemies use them.
Yep, at this point in the game, most enemies use those moves. One notable thing about Hades is I believe you can steal Robe of Lords from him.
Yes, you can.
One of his rare steals. You might want to go for that. Other than that, I mean, yeah, he has some pretty hard-hitting attacks. He'll use a countdown, I think, until he uses oh, what move is that? I can't remember actually right now. It's
Is it the
Doomsday or
powering
something like
sword
that.
route, right?
That's what it is. Thank
Yep.
you. Yeah, so he uses a countdown for that, but regardless, when you finally do beat him, you get a lot of AP, all of the standard, boss fair stuff.
Yes.
But then the real bonus with this is he opens kind of the final end game secret synthesis shop. As far as the items it has, honestly, not that great because a lot of them aren't really that useful. I think the best item there is the tin armor.
He's got the tin armor, which it's the best in defense, but actually the good thing about it too is it has a lot of magic defense as well. Like, so for instance, Grand Armor I'm looking at right now, it has a defense of 59. Tin Armor has 62. 3, it's not that big of a deal, but what Tin Armor has is got additional 17 magic evasion and 27 magic defense. So that's what makes it truly good, and 32 evasion. So it just tosses in a lot of extra stuff in there. Of course, you can, yes, you can only synthesize it if you got that hammer through the Stalazios. So there's that. Another kind of interesting piece that, well, you're just going to have to kind of make this decision for yourself, and maybe you decide to do this after fighting another said boss that we'll talk about in a moment. But you can synthesize pumice, in which you need those pumice pieces, which you should have a couple at least at this point. And, well, pumice is not really a great accessory unless you want that last summon, which of course is Arc. So that's kind of like the only big deal there on pumice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's pretty much the main use of it, and also one of the better items here. And then for kicks, you can also synthesize the Save the Queen sword,
Yes.
which is pretty interesting because nobody can equip it. And then this actually goes back to one of the missables I mentioned, like way, way back in one of our earlier episodes, at the very first time in Limblum. It requires the Javelin, which is
Yes.
missable pretty much after you leave Limblum in Disc 1. I mean, it's crazy. Like, so it's just kind of funny that they made that an item to synthesize to Save the Queen.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I can't remember if we did talk about the friendly monster Yan. I'm maybe thinking we did, but just in case we didn't, it is the last friendly monster. It's on that one island we will talk about here in just a second. But give it a diamond and you'll get 50 AP in a Rosetta Ring. So, I mean, probably don't even need either of those at this point, but if you just want to finish that off, that's that. But, and I'm thinking we did talk about this because I'm pretty sure you definitely mentioned, you got to be careful of the, well, not so friendly Yans.
Yeah, exactly. This is like, I don't know, me and Mark were talking about this, and we'll probably cover this in our, post-game analysis of this game. But
right.
This is kind of like the final dungeon of Final Fantasy IX in terms of end game battles.
Right.
And unfortunately, it is only one enemy. It's a Yan, which is like, just looks like a
little furry ball or something.
Yeah, like a goat mixed with a sheep or something like that.
Yeah.
These guys are a real pain. So they use Comet, which hits really, really hard. They have pretty high speed. They use virus powder to make themselves, that much more annoying.
Of course.
They also like to use float. And then here's the real kicker. They have something like 20,000 HP. And if you attack them while they're awake or anything like that, they counter with Snort. So that permanently gets rid of one of your party members. And this is why they're such a pain. So a couple of ways to deal with them at lower levels, and you can level up really quickly this way. You either use Odin with Dagger and just hope that pretty much death works on all of them.
Right.
Or the only other way is to put them to sleep using Night, use that until it sticks, and then if you have something like 40 or 50 amethysts, somewhere around there, Adamel should be able to do quad 9.
And then you just do that basically twice, so to speak, and
yep, you got to do it twice. So sometimes you have to reapply sleep. It helps to have the A to B on wait mode for this because their speed is so high. If you have it on active, they're going to wake up by the time the animation's over for Atomos.
Yeah.
So they're kind of tricky, and you definitely don't want them to wake up because the thing with them is basically if you inflict any damage, they're going to counter with Snort. And,
then
their Comet attack too. Yeah, because their Comet attack, it can do like 6,000-7,000 damage.
Yeah. pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But
Anyways, they give 42,000 experience, and you can meet them in groups of 2 or 3 sometimes. So
so
crazy leveling spot.
yes, really, really fast leveling. That'll definitely help you reach max if you so choose. Which, well, you might want to before the last fella, right? So, if you know Final Fantasy IX and you know all the things you've been waiting on it's Ozma. Of course, we've mentioned it multiple times. We already know how to get there, so if you followed up at this point, we're not going to go detailed, but it's Chocobo Sky Garden, so you got to get up there, inspect the statue, and here you go, right? So. First off, we'll just do it because it's pretty fun, but if you do want to steal, you can get an elixir for 100%. Cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting one here, though, because this is a pretty, I guess, probably one of the easier ones to get, is, once again, a Robe of Lorbs, but it's 25%. That's not bad. That's a pretty darn good steal rate.
I think the logic with that is you're not going to be alive to steal that much anyway.
Yeah, it's like, we'll give it to you here.
Yeah, because past that, 6.25% dark matter, and forget about the 0.39% pumice piece. That's just not worth it at all.
No, and on that note, this is who you really want these pumice pieces for, if you so choose to go that route. I mean, that's an option. And so maybe if you do want the pumice for Arc, well, maybe just come to Ozma first, if you want, because they are quite handy. Because in his, plethora of abilities, he does like to use Doomsday and inflict, those dark damaging things. And of course, pumice piece absorbs the shadow damage, right? And so, one of the options. But of course,
there's a couple ways.
He uses tons of other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so going back to what Mark was saying, another way you could do it is you could also equip ninja gear. Aside from that, he's also got your standard fare. He's got flare. He's got Meteor, he's got Holy. Level 4 Holy, which I honestly don't see him use that much. He's got Death, level 5 Death. He also likes to use this Flare Star move that we'll talk about in a little bit. And another real pain is Curse, which can inflict all kinds of... It's like Bad Breath, basically. It does damage. So he'll be hitting you... Yeah, he'll be hitting you with Mini, he'll be hitting you with Confuse, just every single status in the book.
Yes, so... On that note, for preparation, obviously you want, clear-headed, antibody, bright eyes, all the main ones that would just be, just absolute trouble for your characters. And then some good ones is Auto Reflect is really good to have on him because it just helps maximize the damage against himself. Just keep in mind that with cure, healing your party. At this point, though, this is it, right? This is the main boss of the game. This is the biggest, baddest guy around. So just use your elixirs. Might as well. You should have plenty of them. Just drain them out. Go for it. They're like, now's the time, So that's why Auto Reflect is great to have. Of course, Auto Life and Regen, really good. And then if you are using Amarant and or Vivi, Return Magic is actually... even though I complained about it quite a bit last episode, is actually really good for him instead, because he doesn't just absorb it back.
Well, and here's the thing that's nice about that, too, is that it'll return magic on Doomsday.
Yes.
And if you have the absorb shadow damage stuff, then that'll be healing all you guys. The other thing that I wanted to mention, so this is a kicker with Flare Star. So most of his attacks are going to wreck like your party pretty much, especially Meteor. But the thing with Flare Star that really sucks is that it takes your level, it does damage based on your level times some factor. I think either 35, 45, or 50. So that one in particular can kind of sort of make, you want to be like higher levels, but not too high, max. Because then Flare Star, there's a sweet spot, I think, where you can beat him at sort of
and
60s, 70s.
Yeah, and in kind of on that note too, some of the things is, he can use level 4 Holy and level 5 Depth. So it's actually kind of helpful to just have maybe one character that's divisible by 5, one character that's divisible by 4, because apparently with Ozma, if no characters are divisible by 4 or 5, he will not have those abilities in his lineup. He just won't use them.
Gotcha.
And so instead, you want to have that because, sure, one person dying is, way better than 2, 3, possibly even game over from a Meteor, right? So it just kind of adds more attacks into his pool, so he's less likely to use the crazier, harder hitting things
That's
because
a good
he'll
point.
just use the
I
whole
never
full
even thought
holy.
of that.
Yeah, well, and
Yeah,
the holy
that's
one's
actually a
great
really
too
good
because
point.
you can mitigate that damage some way, and
Oh
so
yeah, you could like absorb if you used I don't know, ribbon or something
yeah,
like that, you could absorb it. Yeah, one other thing too, like as far as damaging Ozma, so the whole friendly monster quest, if you completed that, what that's gonna do is Ozma will be within range. So you can physically attack him if you want. But other than that, we were kind of focused on there's a lot of attacks that ignore defense.
right,
So actually, I don't know if Shock does. I wrote down Shock because Shock just does a lot of damage. So if you
yeah,
have it with Steiner, use it. No Mercy's a good one.
of
Dragon
course,
Crest, if you power that up, killing a bunch of dragons, that's a good one. Same thing with Thievery. Thievery can work because it'll do fixed damage
yeah,
based on the number of steals that Zidane's gone. So
yeah. Same with
couple
frog
of
drop as well.
frog drop, that's right. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways you could beat him. You could just use regular attacks, but the annoying thing about Ozma that'll get you is his ATB's kind of cheap in a way. Like he'll get double turns sometimes. He'll just, he'll use like Meteor and then follow up with another move. It's kind of cheap, but
Yeah,
just be prepared. Ozma just gets in a lot of hits. He uses all like biggest attacks in the game. So sometimes you're actually hoping that he'll use Doomsday or
yeah.
Curaga or something
Yeah,
like
one
that.
of the lower ones. Give yourself a break,
Right.
or just plain to death. It's like, yes, please just kill one. I'm tired of killing all
Seriously.
three, four.
Yeah.
If you did beat them, congrats. That's something I've never done, and so I mean, I'm not saying I won't. I might actually just power level. I got that save, man. So go back and fight them someday, and I'll come in one episode, be like, hey guys, I finally did it. But we'll see. But
Yeah.
that's it. So we've covered everything, all the side stuff. It's time to move on. So now here we go. We are back in Memoria. I mean, essentially, we're at the very, very, very end of Memoria, right after killing the Lich. And
Yep.
well, Zidane just needs to take a leap of faith, man.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of cool because after we beat the Lich or whatever, like
Yeah.
that little room turns into space, or just before. Anyway, so yeah, to move on from here, it's kind of like this doorway into space. Of course, Zidane doesn't trust it, but Garland starts talking to him, basically convinces him just to take that leap.
Yeah. He's like, step forward, and of course, Zidane's looking down. It's like, what do you mean step forward, man? He's like, easy for
Yeah,
you to say. And well,
yeah.
no, there actually wasn't a path. You're just apparently floating in circles through space.
Yeah, everybody knows this part. Like when you play through it, you're just kind of like walking a spiral staircase in space for some reason.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it's weird because he's constantly like walking, even when you're not pressing forward or anything like that. But just it's one of these weird situations where when you walk forward, he will actually be moving on the screen,
Yes. So just
even
hold
though it looks
forward.
like he's constant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're getting some really interesting stuff, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah. It's getting pretty crazy at this point. So basically, he just tells Zidane that the reason why they're able to see all of these memories that they never had, or they weren't alive for, they weren't at
right,
that situation, et cetera, is all kind of due to this like collective conscience, I
yeah,
should say,
right.
that he mentions the crystal of life, all of this kind of stuff, and how all memories are interconnected and all of this kind of stuff. So it does start getting really abstract, but it seems to be this concept of basically all is one, a collective consciousness of some sort. And yeah, basically he's telling him that this is the point at which you're going to enter a new world with no more worlds, no more space, and Kuja's goal here is to destroy the crystal. So this is what we have to do
Yeah.
to
And
stop it.
and he does, yeah, I think you just mentioned it too, like the whole crystal thing. It's like I guess the crystal is responsible for everything's existence, right? So
Yeah.
all the worlds, all the space and all that. And so obviously, we don't want Kuja destroying that. That's not good. And yeah, it's pretty interesting about the whole memory thing because he does say, memories are just like, life. He's like, every life requires a parent. That parent required a parent, blah, 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 tracing all the way back to the very beginning of time. And then he says it's the same as memory. You know, it's kind of interesting. It's a strange concept, but same as memory. He just says it's all passed down, and basically, as Alex said, a collective consciousness. It's there for you to tap it. But he says like it's only if you have only if you want to. So you have to make the decision and be like, okay, cool, I'm going to remember what Michelangelo was thinking. And guys, you can remember it. It's there. Just do it. Garland said so. Well, I don't know about that. But he tells you, yes, you got to go stop the crystal, and Garland is done. He says, you are now on your own. So that's it. No more Garland. He's gone. He says, peace out, homies. I'm going to go sleep finally. He also talks about, you know, if he was only created for one thing, his existence, he doesn't regret it being created, essentially what he says. So he's at peace with the whole decision. I mean, if you grow out a beard mustache like that, I would be too. You can now head back to Lindblom. We haven't forgotten that. This is your 16th out of 18th. Again, it's just, apparently it repeats. So that's just an unfortunate thing. But it is another opportunity if you just haven't quite gotten back for the full 9 for that Nero side quest. Here you go, man.
That's still going on.
That's
crazy.
Still going on. You can still head back. But to the Crystal World.
Exactly. I was going to say, so now we're into the Crystal World. And yeah, that's the last time that we're going to hear from Garland, supposedly. Anyways, on to the Crystal World. So this is, again, you know, there's not too much we can say about the scenery and the environment here, but just know that it is absolutely epic. It's definitely fantastic. Yeah, they finished up this game strong with the visuals. I'm telling you, like from Memoria, to the Crystal World, it's just absolutely insane. Yeah, you pretty much just go straight down the crystal path. It's very linear. Battles here are just going to be reincarnations, crystal versions of all of the guardians. What do you call them? The shrine guardians that we all just fought. So.
Yeah, a lot weaker as well too. So that's good, thankfully. And no, yeah, it's a very interesting place. I mean, like I don't know. There's like floating rocks and stuff. It's really hard to describe, but if you've been there, you know that it's fantastic. And well, we have. Our last save orb is here as well, so you might want to make a save. It's probably highly recommended. Something that's also funny, and I did so, because why not, is it's always great when you tent, isn't it? It's just, it could be in the middle of a battle, you know, Burmesia's under attack. Well, hold on, guys, we're sleepy. Let's take a nap real quick, you know, and it's same thing here. We're in the Crystal World, no big deal. Kuja's about to kill the crystal, like, end all existence as we know it, and blah, 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 you know, pom-poms mounts. It's like, yeah, no problem. Time for a nap, guys. Let's go.
Yeah, they all sleep soundly and everything. They're in a like, post-apocalyptic.
So cozy here, isn't it?
It's like an apocalyptic-looking crystal world with constant lightning and thunder, and it looks like everything's about to get destroyed. And they're just sitting there with their little tent set up on the crystal.
Just having a spot of tea.
Yeah.
No, and an interesting little slight difference with this save orb, though, is it does have a teleport option. And so I believe it lets you teleport to different locations within Memoria, if I'm not mistaken.
No, actually, it's just all the way back
just
to the beginning.
Just all the way back? Okay. Well...
And use with caution.
Yes, because if you do this, I mean, that is obviously an easy way to get back to the beginning if you do want to leave. Fortunately, you can't teleport back in, so you will have to run all the way back in to that. So just kind of make the decision for yourselves. Yeah, which is why definitely for the Nero side quest, best to get the first 9, not the back 9, okay? So just leave it there. But if you do go up one screen, you will get to the crystal, and you will see someone in the background there. But stop! Because you can now actually do just that. You can head back to Lindblom if you so choose. 17 and 18, we're almost done. We almost got it. So one more opportunity. We'll get that to a moment.
That's so weird. How would you ever know to do that?
Dude, who would keep checking? How did anyone figure this out to begin with? It's like, okay, we moved 2 steps. Go back. Nope, not there yet. We moved 2 more steps. Nope, not there. Like
every screen. Yeah, every screen go back to Lindblom or something.
Crazy. We're going to do our shorts a little different this time. We're only going to be doing bold move. Seed trivia, we may be retiring. We're not sure, at least for now.
I was just crushing it too bad.
It's just, it became too hard to think of questions. I was just like, goodness, man, I don't know these games. It's hard to ask questions when you yourself, you know. And so we'll see. We might switch it up on the next series with Final Fantasy X. We might flop it with Alex asking me things like, you know, is Titus a min? And I could be like, I know that one. And so
is it Titus or Titus?
Yeah, we could do that. So
know?
we'll plan it, but we're kind of just gonna kind of move that direction for this episode. So a little different, gonna probably be a little longer episode as well at that. But let's go ahead and move to bold move. All right, man. Bold move. What do you got for us?
All right, so been doing a lot of Final Fantasy VII recently, so I'm going to continue that trend. So I think it was disc 2. Anyways, so you know, after the part where you're at the North Crater, and then you lose Cloud and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Well, so do you remember the part when Tifa was in the gas chamber and Scarlet was about to, you know, kill her and like execute her and all that kind of stuff? It was a bold move for Barret to trust Cait Sith to try and come up with a plan to save Tifa, because he had no clue what he was doing. So,
hey, sometimes you just gotta make a bold move and trust some rando like cat. I don't even know what the thing he's riding. I don't know what to call it. Yeah,
it's like a Mog with a little cat on top. But yeah, we don't even know who he is.
Exactly. No, that is a pretty bold move, man. Barret, goodness. Trust him.
Oh, so what you got?
I'm gonna take this quite different this time. Final Fantasy 15. Now, we haven't talked about Final Fantasy 15 pretty much at all. Yeah. And the main reason is because Alex really hasn't played that much of it. I've beaten it. You don't want to know my opinion. It's poop is what it is. But it was kind of a bold move. You know, you're driving around the car, do. It's kind of a bold move of Noct to be like, it's hot. Because, come on, man, you know, you're in a group of guys. These guys are clearly like late teens. You can't just like complain like that to your male buddies. Why? Well, because you're gonna get a response like, whatever is Gladius resonating, then take your coat off. I mean, kind of a bold move, man. Why you just don't complain like that? Come on, dude.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to, Thursday, when we get to that, I'm definitely gonna play that game.
That game is
to kind of understand what you're talking about a bit more with that. But yes, bold move, definitely.
Bold move, Noct. Complaining about what he's wearing. All right, well, those are our bold moves, and let's get back and finish off. Wow, crazy saying that, but finish off Final Fantasy IX. All right, well, so now that you got back from Lindblum, it probably took you about another 10, 15, 20 minutes to get all the way back to this point. It's time to talk to Kuja, man. It's like, we finally got this dude cornered. He's like a rat just scurrying every hole, man. It's like, come on, dude. Like, let's throw down, okay? And
let's finish this.
An interesting little thing is that he's kind of surprised at first. He's like, you know, I can't believe that you killed or you beat or defeat or whatever he says those, I don't know what he calls them exactly, but basically all the shrine bosses we just killed. He says, I can't believe you beat my creations. We already know all the shrine bosses and we killed them all, so we all kind of know that. But like, did he just recreate them? It's like, come on, man, get an original thought, dude. Like, you know, make something new. Why, you're totally lame.
Yeah, and he might just do that in a minute, but that was a pretty funny part there, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, we knew that he, you know, like way back, he basically showed that he can make monsters with magic or whatever, and it doesn't need mist. So, you know, it's basically him. He's still in his trance mode or whatever, and he hasn't
taken any actions yet, man.
Yeah,
he's been on pause on his ATB gauge for, you know, like literally, I don't know, 2 weeks in game.
Maybe he cheated and he's got like 99.
Dude, he's using a modifier, isn't he? What a jerk!
So, anyways, he's chilling there. He's in front of the crystal. And basically, he changed after he found out that he was mortal. He thought that he was above all that. So he's on this thing where basically, dude is so narcissistic that he can't deal with the fact that the world will go on without him.
It's not fair.
So he's gonna destroy the crystal just so that everybody can die.
Yeah. If I can't live, no one else can either. Goodness, why
you gotta be a bad loser.
What a loser. Sore loser. Well, he does, so obviously he knows he's got to take you out, kind of a deal. I guess he just created this right now in the moment. I don't know, but, you know, you get into a battle. It doesn't, like, I don't know, it just doesn't really suggest it came from anywhere. It's just you get into a battle, you're like, cool, I'm fighting Kuja, but nope. Instead, it's just really hardcore looking thing, man. It is insane looking. The death guys, and it's like, gosh,
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome. Kind of like a, what do you call it, like sort of a Gizmaluke looking dragon thing,
Yeah,
but
actually.
way
Yeah.
more skeleton-like and kind of like creepy with, clawed wings
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff. This guy hits really hard, and we're gonna get to that. As far as
Of
steals,
course.
real quick, so there is still a chance, like anything you steal on this one, you can actually save. So still kind of worth it. 100% elixir, 25% black belt, but the 0.39% is dual claws. So wouldn't bother going for that
No. Maybe just get an elixir if you
if you need
need
it.
it, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, I mean, might as well, 100%. And this is just, I guess it is what happens, right? He just opens up no matter what by using
He
Meteor. It's just,
he
it's
opens with
immediately,
Meteor.
it will happen. And yeah, lo and behold, for my game, it took out Amarant, took out Dagger, it took
Yep.
out Freya, and here's Zidane sitting with like 1500. I'm like, well, this is a great way to start a battle. All right, I like this guy,
That must have been a tough recovery, dude.
Oh,
I
dude,
know
it
the
took
feeling
me
like
it took me like 5 turns to recover because I kept Phoenix
yep.
downing Dagger,
And
and
then
then
they
he
keep
would do
getting
his little
kills.
spin thing and then kill it. And
Yep.
meanwhile I had to, yeah, it was a long process. It wasn't fun.
Yeah. Well, you recovered from it. That's impressive because yeah, I mean everybody knows like Meteor, man, Meteor sucks in this game.
Gosh, it does.
And it basically like, unlucky or you kind of luck out with this one because it pretty much just does randomly anywhere between 50 to around 5,000 damage. It's unblockable, so don't even worry about like magic defense
Yeah.
isn't really gonna do anything for you here. It's just luck based. So hopefully your party doesn't get taken out like
Yes.
Mark's did. But regardless of that, this guy after that, he'll just basically he's pretty much in the wings open stage at first. He'll just be using Demon's Claw, which does around 2,000 damage.
Yep.
And occasionally he'll sort of like close his wings and go into a different stage in which he's going to use annoying attacks like Death, Twister,
Our
level
old friend
5
Twister,
Death.
man.
Yeah, Twister's just one of those ones. I mean, at least it's not Meteor, but still
Yes.
pretty bad.
Yeah. And at that point, it pretty much just goes into standard boss things. Standard boss fight, at this point, you already know you should just have your status effect protections. You should have, your strong abilities, kind of the usual thing. Doesn't particularly have any more health and much higher defenses than any of the other bosses you encountered in here. It's that opener, man. You just got to make it past that if you're just really unlucky.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he keeps it up. He likes to use death quite a bit. It's quite often, at least it was with mine. It was like almost every other attack. So when you do defeat him, don't move forward, at least. Don't go forward. You're basically standing right where you were just talking. You're able to move. Head on back to Limblov. It's your last chance. So you, up to this point, can still head back. It's so... Dude, this is just mind-boggling. Guys, as a disclaimer, the last time I even made it this far in this game was well over 20 years ago, right? So for me to be here, it's like, this is just insane. I can't believe you could be like, hold on, Kuja, dude. Hold on, dude. I need to go get some of Grandma's pickles, dude, because if I'm going to die now, I'm going down eating one of those Geisel pickles. It's going to happen.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Got to go back and grab some of those. But yeah, it is kind of deceptive because you're so close, like basically you have control of Zidane, but if you move, like Mark said, if you move forward at all, you initiate the next conversation, then you're stuck.
Yeah, well, and essentially you initiate the sequence of the end of the game. You'll never be able to move around again.
So yeah, this is pretty much, it's nice to go back and save because number one, you're probably going to be pretty messed up after that battle.
Yes.
You can save some of the steals and, you can go do that Nero side quest if that's still going on. But anyways, we'll kind of go over some preps for this final battle for you guys just right off the bat.
Yes.
A lot of the auto abilities, of course, are really good. My 2 personal favorites. So right off the bat, like don't worry about status protection for Kuja. So
yeah, not
all
needed.
of that off. Not really. Yeah, and then auto haste, auto regen is really nice. Auto life, not really necessary, but still really nice to have. MP attack, you can have like Man-Eater on if you're physically attacking with Steiner or Zidane or Amarant. Vivi, here's one I thought of that you should probably, it would be pretty nice. Reflect Null, because hint, he kind of has an attack that makes things a little bit tricky for Vivi, so.
Yes.
And holy damage protection, so ribbons, white robes, pretty nice.
Yeah.
So
yeah, pretty good. Also, side note is that the track that's about to play here as you open it up, It's called The Darkness of Eternity. First off, what a name for a song, you know, Seriously. The Darkness of Eternity. It's like, geez, man. All right.
Well, yeah.
Get real deep here, pal.
Yeah, and it is a pretty awesome
soundtrack,
just like you said. So, one of the
Final
best.
Fantasy usually does not disappoint in their final battle, boss soundtracks. You know, so
right.
We got another great one coming up in a moment. But yeah, Darkness of Eternity, fantastic. And well, here we go. We finally get to fight Transkuja, right? It's been a long time coming. At this point, for these steals, it's up to you. If you just want it for the sake of, hey, I stole it, I mean, it's the end of the game. And 100% is kind of just, why did they do this? It's an ether. It's not even an elixir, you know? It's like, come on, guys.
Kind of like a slap in the face at this point.
Yeah, it is. Goodness. So.
Yeah, but, I mean, funny enough, too, he's got the same amount of HP as Death Guy's, only 55,000, so not insurmountable or anything like that.
Yep.
And like what Mark was just saying, you can actually still equip some of these steals, but you're not going to be able to save them, so not really a big deal, because 25% is a white robe, which really sucks, and 0.39% is a rebirth ring, which is just like...
Yeah, why would you even do that to yourself? Yeah,
it's absolute garbage. So, anyways, attacks, he has all the big attacks, not as bad as Ozma, we talked about earlier, but Flare... Holy, he's got Flare Star, loves to use it a lot. Again. I went over that damage formula. So the higher level your party is, the more damage it's going to do.
Yeah. He will use Cure Aug on himself. It's actually kind of nice when he does, just because it gives you a little break if you need it. Because, I mean, it only heals for, like, I don't know, like 3,600 or something like that. So it's like, dude, why'd you even do that, man? I just did 6,000 to you, but... It's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, the Holy is nice. I mean, ribbons are great if you have that, and, of course, anything that absorbs it. With a ribbon on, Holy only did like, I don't know, like 800. So it was actually really, It was a good thing when he used Holy. I was really happy. He also liked the target dagger with it. So, of course, she also just had that higher magic defense. But overall, not really that hard. I mean, Death Guy's was much harder just because of that meteor to begin with, you know. And so this really shouldn't be a big deal. He does like to use Reflect, though. So just be mindful of that if you have Vivi in the party. Because, you know, that's just one of those things that you kind of just get into your nice little rhythm, you know, attacks and you forget. And, well, next thing you know, you just, you know, used Flare in yourself or whatever. And so.
Yeah, it can happen. After you finish off this battle, he does exactly what he did at the end of the Terra battle. He just ends up using Ultima, taking everybody out.
You know, let's get pretty realistic here with it. Okay, in one case, Kuja uses Ultima, destroys a planet. In another case, Kuja uses Ultima, I don't know, gave the party a couple of bruises. Something's not adding up here, you know?
Yeah, seriously.
Well, that's, as we just said, it kind of is just the battle ender, so to speak, and, you know, it basically just goes up to, it's desolation, you know, whatever you're fought on. Obviously, you got nailed with Ultima, so it's just all blown up, so to speak, and everyone's just kind of laid out like usual. Hint, hint, you know, back to good old Beatrix, you know, and she killed everyone. Took them out. And so it's kind of fun, I will say, with this song because, dude, what is this? So we'll get to this in a moment. It's kind of like on a loop right now. If you actually listen to the soundtrack, which it's literally just called The Final Battle is all it's called. The beginning of it is kind of like, it's like people like being tortured or something. And so we're in this really beginning loop.
Yeah, it's actually really creepy because, like what you said, it's got little screams in the background, like and all these like, it's super weird.
Throw a little tactics one in there. That would have been hysterical if you heard that in the background.
Final Fantasy Tactics style. Wow. Anyways, so yeah, I looked this one up because I didn't know what this place was called. Apparently, it's called the Hill of Despair. So Zidane will wake up, and then you're sort of getting this text on screen, and there's this voice. We don't know who it is, you know.
Right.
Pretty sure it's not Garland at this point.
Yeah, well, I guess we're assuming it's not Kuja either, you know, considering we just I don't know, beat him down, even though he beat us down, but. Yeah,
Right,
dude,
we think Kuja's dead at this
yeah,
point,
yeah, we're
so
just assuming that that's the case. Because he essentially did that. He just like took himself out. You know, it's like if I
yep,
can't live, you can't either. So he just tried to kill
exactly.
everyone, including himself. So we're just assuming he's dead. And yeah, this voice is like the most like negative and cryptic of them all. You know, it's just talking about the fact that since Kuja attempted to destroy the crystal, that means that all life doesn't want to exist anymore. So I guess I got to go ahead
It's
and kill all you guys instead. It's like,
yeah,
dude, where are you from, man? Come on, we just dealt with one crazy for the longest time, and all of a sudden we got King Crazy in here.
yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like they're in this sort of afterlife, but sort
Yeah,
of like a Hades type of situation, right? The voice is just yeah, it's being extremely dark and everything, talking about how if Kuja was willing to destroy the crystal, then basically that must mean that basically all life wants to be freed of fear, and it is this is like where the game gets seriously abstract, guys. So we're trying to explain
yeah,
this, but you
yeah,
you
because it's
know
kind
what
of
it
out of the
is.
blue here, you know.
It is very out of the blue, and basically, so he's basically saying, look, you know what? I'll free you from your pain. I'll free you from your fear of death and all this stuff, and I'll destroy the crystal. And basically, he just says that he exists to create the zero world of
Yeah,
perpetual nothingness. So if that doesn't tell you how black pill this guy is, then
yeah.
nothing else
What the
does.
heck, man? I mean, I personally don't really like to live with false hope.
Yeah,
I
it
do
is very
want to
Final
have it
Fantasy
all,
X like.
and no, I'm not being childish. So, oh wait, wrong
Yeah.
Final Fantasy.
It
Yeah.
is it is so much like Final Fantasy X. I was
Yeah,
thinking the
yeah,
exact same
Unaliska.
thing.
I
It's
mean,
like
yeah, it's the same
Seymour's.
thing she's spouting out
Yep.
pretty much. And
Yep.
so, no, quite interesting. And essentially, our scene is yes, we're on this hill of despair, like we just talked about, kind of destroyed, and you do see kind of like floating out in the distance. I mean, it looks like a Colosseum. It does kind of like
Yeah.
just thinking of
It's like
like
a
a
ruined
Roman
Colosseum.
Colosseum, you know, is kind of just floating up there, and we get a very interesting thing. So you get one of the chances where you select your party, you know, and it just lets you just be in the menu. You can't walk around or do anything, but you're just in the menu. You select your party. You're allowed to, you know, heal up or equip items or, you know, do whatever. This is basically your essentially last moments in the menu in Final Fantasy IX. And once you get out of that, you know, you're good to go. Some strange thing. At first, I honestly, dude, I thought this until, you know, we won't spoil it, but it's like the party members that you did not select are like giving up their life force to heal you
Yeah.
because everyone's going to be at like, you know, 1 health, so to speak. And so it's like
That's
it's
right,
like
yeah.
restoring them, and then, you know, it goes through that. And I mean, come on. Of course they all have to have catchphrases here, you know? And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Icos is kind of lame, surprisingly. It's kind of like, just promise me you'll win or something like that. And
Yeah.
you know, Vivi's is like, sorry that I couldn't do better. It's like, dude, shut up, man. You're here with us at the end. You're obviously ungodly with magic. Just accept it.
Yeah.
Like, goodness gracious.
Vivi's the GOAT. I mean, seriously. But there are also some really funny ones like Amaranth's just like don't screw up. And one of my favorites, of course.
Of
I mean,
course.
you guys know how we post and
Oh,
everything.
yes.
Kina's quote, "Come back after you kill bad guy. I prepare big meal for everyone."
Big meal. Always
love
about
that.
the food. Never.
Yeah, Kina's just in
Oh.
this like battle to save all life on Earth. She's just like, "I'll cook you a big meal."
Yeah, dude, hysterical. And so once you get all your party, you know, and all that taken care of, essentially you will get kind of like teleported up into the Colosseum. You know, the guy doesn't want to come down to meet you. You got to go meet him. And well, here you go. You're into a battle. So as I said, the music is awesome. It's literally just called the final battle. And this is like, as soon as the battle stops, this is like when when it finally kicks off, and then it goes into the like, you know, the actual track, and there's still gonna be moanings,
Yeah.
luckily, so we get to listen to that. And
That is the weird part, but this is where the song,
oh yeah, it kicks
really
off,
starts to
man.
hit its stride of like, okay, yeah, this is the final boss
This-
right here. You can just tell.
This song, when I listen to it, especially when it starts to kick off and no, you know, and stuff, I don't know why, but I just like picture like a garage band of a bunch of Japanese dudes with long mustaches just like, you know, jamming out, man. They're just like, heck yeah.
Oh,
You know, I don't know why I picture that, but it's
hilarious.
just like, dude, it's such like a catchy, just fun song to like jam to. It's like, that's what I think of. That's what happened, actually. I know that for a fact.
Interesting.
But
Yeah. That's the story behind
that's the
song.
story. This dude's name is Necron. Don't ask us. We don't know where he came from. You know, apparently he's just been chilling here this whole time, and we don't know how to describe him. He has multiple arms. Some are small, some are large. He's like kind of like, I don't know. He doesn't really have legs. You know, he's kind of just floating. It's like a rain, and then he like has some serial killer hockey mask on.
Yeah. Seriously, that's one of the funniest things. But he looks like a final boss. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, he does.
It's basically like, you know, a godlike figure. You know, this is classic Final Fantasy right here, where basically you're fighting a god at the very end of the game, and that's essentially what this dude is. But yeah, it is funny to look though. He has like a mask on or something like that. Honestly, kind of looks a little bit like a hockey mask. So
he just came
pretty
from
creepy,
scoring 3 goals on the Alexandria Red team. So that's
for real. Let's just dive right into this guy's attacks. Steals, obviously, don't even matter, but if you need a free elixir, go for it.
Yeah.
So he uses all of the level 3 elemental spells, which are probably the least of your concerns. So Fire-Aga, Thundaga, Blizzaga. He likes to use Protect and Shell. He also just has some insanely bad attacks. He's got Holy, of course. He's got Meteor, of course, which we all know. Yeah, why not? Exactly. He's got this attack called Neutron Ring, which is basically just does large amount of damage to the whole party.
Yeah.
And then he's got Blue Shockwave, which hits one party member but reduces their HP to 1.
To 1, yeah. And then, dude, probably I would say one of the coolest ability I've ever seen in any Final Fantasy game. Grand Cross. Dude, this is insane. It's like what? There's like the main planet in the center, and then there's like planets or moons, or I don't even know if that's what they represent, but on, you know,
it's
all directionals, up, down, left, right, and dude, what like an insane ability.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, I mean, this goes back to all Final Fantasies. The final boss always has some apocalyptic attack, and this one's like sort of a solstice, almost of like, yeah, like what Mark was saying, basically 2 planets or moons on either side. Anyways, regardless, this attack sucks. It hits your entire party with any status in the game. So it can hit them with Death, Mini, Confuse, Venom, just
Stop. Yeah, literally any of them. So, you know, go in the best prepared as you can, but you will be hit by something.
You'll get hit by something because unfortunately, you can't protect against death in this game.
No.
So that's just something that you're going to have to deal with. But one other thing to note about that, though, is it doesn't hit you with every status guaranteed. It just hits you with a random status, seems like. So
this dude is tough, though. I mean, he is tough. I was struggling. I was lucky enough that Zidane got a trance. And then slightly after that, Amarant got a trance as well. And of course, at that point, it was easy mode and it only took a few turns of, you know, lethal 9 or whatever the heck the abilities are, and just doing all kinds of damage. It didn't matter. And I was like, oh well, that made it much easier.
when Zidane gets a trance or Steiner or something like that, it's pretty much over.
Yes.
But yeah, like, I mean, as far as this battle, we forgot to mention it before, but yeah, basically like the status protection and then just getting lucky on Grand Cross. Just hopefully it doesn't hit too many people with death or anything like that, and you should be able to pull through. Just keep people healed up, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Don't be afraid to exhaust those elixirs. You know, why not?
Yeah, use them all. This is it.
If you did manage to squeak on by, or if you just completely stomped him down, that's it. So we'll see you guys next. No, I'm just kidding. So some very interesting things here. We obviously cannot talk about all of this stuff because it was so much to remember, and then half of it you can't even pause to write notes, apparently. And so I've forgotten probably a lot of it since this morning, but very interesting stuff. But first off, right off the bat, we know that the Aoife tree starts going wild, right? I mean, the roots, it literally even starts growling, if you can believe it. It goes, like, I'm not even kidding. It was like, dude, what is this thing, a monster? Like, I don't even understand anymore what's going on. Like, what?
So basically, after they beat Necron, he says that he's still gonna exist whether in life or death, so it doesn't matter. Like you haven't done anything is basically what he said to him. The Colosseum blows up. Like what Mark was saying, the Aoife tree is going crazy.
You got actually a pretty funny scene with Beatrix where she's talking to the Knights of Pluto, and they're like, no one could survive that, and that's like, no, and she's like, hey, contact Sid on the Hildegard. So they talk, and essentially Sid rolls up in his caddy and is like, yo guys, let's go. Like it's now or never. Zidane realizes that Kuja is still alive. He just says, I just know it is. Like I either says like maybe I hear him or I feel him or something, but he knows that Kuja is alive. And he's like, dude, we can't just leave him alive. Like we can't do that.
This is crazy. Like,
dude, it's insane.
The party's just like, how could you possibly, still care enough to even go do that after he's tried to destroy basically all life and all of this kind of stuff, and then just it's kind of interesting because he just knows that he has to. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that he knows is the right thing to do. So it's kind of an interesting. And very much a bold move at this point.
Bold move goes to and he wants to do it alone too. He won't let anyone come. All of them want to come. All of them say kind of their final like character development and or feelings towards Zidane in that moment. Like, of course, Amarant's is like, dude, you're an imbecile, and he walks away, and Zane's like, that dude's never gonna change. Aiko finally woman's up and says, I love you, Zidane, and then she runs away.
Yeah.
But they all say the same thing. Vivi is even like, he kind of downgrades himself. And finally, Zidane's like, dude, chill out, man. Because honestly, I probably wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for you. Like, you have taught me so much. He's like, just like when Vivi had to make that decision about himself, and realizing, I don't know, I forget, maybe Black, maybe Bitch or something. He's like, I have to make my decision now too, and so he's using Vivi as resources. But regardless, a lot of other things happen. Kina mentions food, of course, and off Zidane goes to, I would say, probably the strangest cinematic. Like they kind of went halvesies, didn't they? They're like, hey. Do we have enough money to actually, FMV Zidane into this? And they're like, no, man. They just put him in. It looks really bad, dude. It looks so bad.
Yeah, the final FMV here is really funny because you've got Zidane. So all of the roots have started basically attacking, and he sort of goes into this weird, like, it's just crazy parkour. But he all of a sudden can run like 100 miles an hour, and so he's running along the ground.
It's sideways on walls.
Yeah, dodging all these vines and everything. And we always knew that Zidane was crazy athletic with the parkour and everything. It's this evil forest and whatnot. But this takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty crazy scene with vines. I mean, like, seriously, just like hundreds trying to like attack him and kill him and stuff. And he's just parkouring around, jumping and stuff. And he even has like little smirks on his face every now and then, like, heck yeah, I'm doing this, buddy.
It's killing it.
He's like, yeah, he's like all those push-ups. It's so very interesting scene, but he does get to the center, and this is actually, this is a really interesting kind of thing because Kuja's obviously dead and defeated, or he's dying there, and he's all battered and bruised, as you can tell, and he's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you even here? Why are you even trying to save me? And Zidane is just, man, he just pops down, and I forget kind of exactly what he says, but it's just like, it's possible that I would have done the exact same thing if I were you.
That's right,
It's like he realizes they really truly are kind of the same, so to speak. It's just, without, and even that, he gives credit to Kuja too. He's like, honestly, you were the first one to have consciousness here. It's like you were kind of the trailblazer for himself, or Mikoko too, or Mikoto, whatever. I see Coco, whatever, I don't care. But
Mikoto.
It's so
close enough.
It's close enough. It's kind of an interesting moment.
Yeah, I really like this scene, honestly. Like, aside from the crazy one that we just got through, such an awesome scene. And basically, we also find out that, one of the first things Kuja says is, are all your comrades okay? So we find out that he was the one that teleported them out from the Aoife tree.
Yes.
Before everything, blew up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have Kuja kind of like fading off as if he's passing away or something like that. So Zidane goes over and it's like, no, you're not dying on me and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
We're left with this scene where all of these green vines just basically
just
congregate on
slam.
them. And,
Yeah.
yeah, and so you're thinking,
Oh, they
that's
died,
it.
man. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Those were, they got too mad. Like, this dude ain't parkouring out of this. Heck no, and just pinned him down like a fly. And so
And
it
that's
then
that.
it fades, and so then we just get a message that says sometime later. Very interesting scenes, and this is unfortunately where you couldn't pause, and so I was trying to like write down and get as much info and try to remember and get as much screens, but I couldn't pause it during this. Starting out, it's very interesting. It's very reminiscent, because here we go. We got Vivi. He's holding some tickets, man. He's in Alexandria. He says, so this is Alexandria, and here comes little old Punk, is what I'm calling him. Punk Puck, right? Runs into him. He's like, dude, what's up, man? He was like, who the heck are you, man? Like, oh, you Prince Puck? And he's like, yeah, aren't you Vivi? He's like, no, I'm Vivi's son. And then here come like 30 other ones. What the heck, dude? How did Vivi had kids?
I think they like cloned him or something. It is super strange, but I gotta be honest, what I was thinking is how awesome would it be to have like a party of 4 VVs? just four of them casting Doomsday.
The world is very lucky that they did not make the Black Mages as Vivi's model. Goodness gracious, man.
Super funny. But yeah, really interesting scene, because it turns out, well, none of them are Vivi. It's all just Vivi's kids.
Just all his kids. They all look exactly like him. And at this point, it kind of starts to go to all the characters, right? So the order might be wrong here, but, it also goes to Freya, and her and Sir Fratley are now together in Burmecia, and finally it seems like she even mentions he doesn't remember the past, but he at least still
doesn't remember.
Has the feelings, though. The feelings are there, so it's not like he just simply doesn't like her anymore or anything like that. So they're very much in love together now, is what it kind of says. So it's kind of that happy ending there, with those two. Goes to, also has Amarant. He's over at like, what is that?
It's like the Southgate.
Yeah,
it's that bridge.
Oh, that's right.
It's a super weird place. It's the bridge by Southgate.
Yes.
On your way to Trino, between Dali and Trino, but super random place.
Yes, and he's on his way to. We're starting now to get the sense from conversation stuff that everyone's going to Alexandria. Obviously, something's happening. We don't know yet, but Lonnie's there, and she's like, "You going?" He's like, "Why wouldn't I?" And so they're heading out too, and we also have Beatrix. She's in what was Dagger's quarters, maybe, I think is what it was, the room. And she's just kind of like, she lays down her, she's like, save the queen, she lays it down. She's like, basically like, I'm not needed anymore, because, if we're thinking about Steiner is, Dagger's personal knight, so essentially replaces Beatrix. But, well, she's leaving, and because now it goes to Steiner, and Steiner's like, Beatrix. I forget exactly what he says, so I ruined the moment.
I can't. No. I think it was he says like I can't stand to lose you again, essentially along those lines.
Yes.
And because he's sort of sitting there, and it does the thump.
Yeah, thump his heart.
Again, he's sitting there like covering up his face. He's like, man, am I really about to say this right now? But he does. He comes out with it, and they come together and everything. So it really is like, so far it's this kind of like feel good thing. Aside from Zidane and Kuja, everything else has been really nice. It's like, okay, Vivi somehow found a way to like have a legacy on. Frey and Sir Fratley are good. Amarant and Lonnie.
Yep, they're back together.
And Steiner and Beatrix.
Yep. And then it just continues on, because it has Aiko, and she's in the lift in Limblum with Sid and Hilda, and she calls Sid father, and he's like, what do you say? And she's, and then she comes back and calls father and mother. So obviously it kind of gives that happy ending there, where Aiko, man, she's been alone, who knows how long, 6-year-old, but now she has parents, and heck, man, Sid and Hilda, she could do a lot worse than that, right? And so, that's a really cool thing. And then, of course, we got to go to Kina, which, where else would she be?
Yeah, funny enough, Kina ends up exactly at the first place. We talked about this, I think it was even the first episode, where you can go and find Kina in the kitchen in Alexandria. So she's back in the kitchen in Alexandria, and it's just a hilarious scene, because, she's sitting there with her tongue out and everything, like, just going back and forth between these pots on the stove. And it just looks like there's, like, boiling water or something.
Delicious boiling water.
So Yeah, everything's good with her, and she's just basically like, I'm gonna cook some amazing. The way to cook amazing food is to do it with love for friends, essentially
Yeah.
along those lines. You know, it's all feel good at this
It
moment.
is. It is all feel good, but here we are with Dagger, right? So it shows her. She's clearly the queen. It mentions that multiple times. And they are preparing. It's been kind of, I think it's been hinted at. I also did go to the theater ship at some point with the Tantalus troops, so it did show them. I can't really remember too much. And now we're here, and so essentially everyone's gathering for once again another
Yeah.
another play from the theater ship. So it's like, dude,
Yeah.
we are 100% full circle now. It's crazy.
Exactly. I was just gonna say that because that scene, I forget where it slots into all of that, like you said, but it's so funny because, aside from Zidane being there, it's exactly the same scene as the very beginning of the game. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a trip because it's like, honestly, even if you did speedrun this game, it's still a solid like 10 or 12 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long game, so it's weird to be seeing this like it's the beginning
Well, yeah, then and
again,
now.
Right. So of course, they're gearing up for their roles again in I Want to Be Your Canary. So
Yeah.
it's the same play, so it's all pretty similar. And
And
yeah, I mean, here we go.
and it just plays on out, it actually plays out the play a little bit more now. You actually get to watch it a little bit, and it's got Marcus in there, and he's a hooded, and he's talking to Ruby, which is, whatever the girl is. And it goes through,
Cornelia.
and
It's like
it just
Cornelia or something.
yeah, there you go, Cornelia. And it just kind of goes through, I want to be your canary, and it plays through. And Marcus is wanting the Cornelia. She left. She's not showing up, and he says, and I'll pray to the twin moons that like I prayed to find. And then boom, it's Zidane, and he says Dagger. And so obviously Dagger's going nutso, and she goes to the door, but man, she gets barred. Steiner and Beatrix are like, heck no, and then they smile and open the doors for her. It's like, okay.
Yeah. But Steiner's smile in that scene
Yep.
too is so creepy.
Go get go get him, Tagger.
Yeah, they're pretty much just like, he's like, you know what? I used to hate the guy, but now I approve because he's cool and everything.
Absolutely.
So, go after it. And yeah, she runs down, and
Yes.
it's like your typical
happy ending, man.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just,
exactly,
yeah.
like your romantic movie and all that kind of stuff, where basically she thought he was dead, and yeah, somehow he's still alive and everything. They finally get to be reunited, and they have this really great scene.
And then that's kind of that's how it ends, and it just kind of plays out with the song and all that, and here we go, credits, and that's the game, guys. It's super exciting. I will say though, did Kuja live?
Yeah, that's something I was thinking of
Kuja
too.
still kicking around somewhere?
Here's what I got from that. I think Kuja died. To answer your question, though, that's what I think happened there. I think he actually died, and
the bucket, huh?
yeah, and somehow Zidane lived, and at the very, very end, like the final words of this game were, what was it? Something along the lines of "How did you survive?" And he basically just said, because I had to live." It's a really good ending. It's really interesting.
It is. We want to thank you all for sticking with us through the series. I mean, obviously the podcast continues. And so we want to thank you for hanging out with us, spending time listening to this particularly long episode. We're sorry it went so long, but heck, it's the ending of the game. And so we got to give it credit where credit's due. If you want to stop off at our Instagram, it's finalstop@finalfantasytalks.com. It's just where we have all of our media. Of course, we'll have all this end game content for you. How could we not? And then also we do have a website. It's finalstop@finalfantasytalks.com, and we got blog posts there, a little bit more info. If you so choose, you can listen to the episodes there if you want. And, well, I think that will do it for us this time. I'm Mark.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks.